welcome back to the show. This is your Manchester United versus Brighton match reaction. We'll be giving our thoughts and opinions on how the game played out, the result, and how big this is. Of course, it's a magnificent result, accompanied by some superb football from Manchester United against a team that on their day can really cause other teams some problems in this league. So for me personally, this is a very good result, and I'm sure it is for you too. And if it is, smash that thumbs up button. And if not, tell us why in the comments down below. Do not be afraid to engage with us. And if you are new, subscribe to the channel, of course, or at least think about it. Without any further ado, let's get into it, man. It's a cornerstone result for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Well, in the wake of what is an important period in his career at Manchester United, a lot of people still uncertain about his future. But I think today, results like today at least, show that there is some positives about this manager and his playing style when he has the perceived right players. And I think there is no better place to start than this game against Brighton. What did you guys think? What are your overall thoughts on how we played today, and perhaps the drop-off in the second half, and how that was maybe a sign that we need to make some signings? We need some bench players for Bruno.
The game was perfection for me. But yeah, like you said, as soon as Pogba, Bruno, and like Luke Shaw and them went off, it just showed the lack of performance and the drop-off. And I mean, even if you had quality players, you could understand the drop-off, but it just shows like how dead the team becomes. And we really do need to squad depth and more reinforcements to this United team. Because by the first team, there's like maybe 2 players I trust.
Mm-hmm. If that.
Yeah, look. We played beautiful, beautiful football. Like perfection. I think Shani put it perfectly. It was amazing. And like, I love United and I love watching United, but then I've never always loved the football they play. It's always, most of the time it's been ugly, let's be honest. And the Sheffield game, and more specifically this game, I've never been so proud to be a United fan, because the football we're playing right now is gorgeous and I loved it. The way we move the ball. I know I talk a lot about United's movement of the ball, but we move it so well now. Pogba and Bruno make such a big difference in that midfield. And it's not like Brighton played badly. I thought Brighton were decent, to be honest. I think at the start, yes, they saw a little flat, but the defensive shape looked good. And when they counted on the ball, they knew how to handle the ball, but we just suffocated them. Like they had no chance. And yeah, we definitely deserved to win the game. Much better team. You're right. When Bruno and Pogba came off, you immediately saw the drop-off. Brighton started dominating because they did come out more. The game was gone, so why not? Why should they sit back anymore? They decided to attack. As soon as they came off, we saw the drop-off. We started playing more on the counter. And yeah, I guess that's the only negative for today. Besides that, tops.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at the positives, but at the end of the day, if you choose to be blindly optimistic, then you miss out on the negatives, and you're only lying to yourself at the end of the day and being delusional if you think this Manchester United team is going to be this perfect 100% of the time. I think if Barcelona had scored that goal when Bruno scored his which goal was it? When Bruno scored the volley. If Barcelona had done that, people would be over the moon. But because it's United, people won't be over the moon. And because it's against Brighton, people won't be over the moon. But if Barcelona had done that against some no-name Spanish team, people would be all over the place. Look at Barcelona. Look at the beautiful football they play. And, agendas will be agendas at the end of the day. But really good stuff. Really good stuff. And Brighton's not an easy team to play against.
I know it's our classic.
Yeah,
they're a good team. They played well. They took points off Leicester. I know Leicester are a bit off, but then they're a good team. Like
they took points off us at last year. So.
They've beaten us for the last 2 years at the Amex, I think. So and they were threatening. Also in the second half, set pieces. They had chances here and there. So and the third goal was brilliant, dude. I know it's our classic counter, but we just exude confidence. It was enjoyable to watch.
Yeah. Also, what was nice to see was Bruno wasn't the only one telling people where to pass. I saw Pogba getting in on people as well. Refreshing to see 2 people on the field, exuding leadership skills. I think we're going to be using that word a lot tonight on the show. Add it to your dictionary. Anyways, let's get into the player ratings, man, because we could talk on and on and on about. I don't even want to use the word champagne football, but what other alcohol is associated with extravagance, but also tastes nice?
Tastes nice.
A fine wine.
A fine aged wine, yeah. But taste
wise.
nice.
I mean, to some people, wine tastes amazing. So, some people love. I mean, there's a whole culture around wine tasting, so there must be something there in the taste buds that makes people go so mad that they would spend a whole day tasting it. I don't know where this conversation is going. I really don't. But really, what I was going to say is player ratings. We need to get to the player ratings.
Yeah.
De Gea.
Oh, De Gea. I thought De Gea, he was quiet, but then, bang, 3 world-class saves out of nowhere. And he just showed that I think he thought today that, keep the concentration. I know he didn't have a lot to do, but when he was needed, his concentration was still there, and he made good saves. So I'm going to actually give De Gea an 8. 8 out of 10.
If he conceded today, people would have gone in on him so hard. As always, when you're a world-class player, people judge you on your mistakes and not what you actually do directly after your mistakes.
Yeah. As much as Brighton were threatening, as I said, I think they didn't get much shots, more so shots on target. I think our defense took care of them. And when he was called upon, he was brilliant. That first save, that should have been a goal. That was an amazing save. That's the David De Gea we know. And yeah, I'll say 8 as well. No, 7.
Isn't it funny how he all of a sudden keeps a clean sheet when the defense actually does their job and still manages to pull off a world-class save? Just saying. Because look, man, every mistake this guy's made, I feel like it's because of a defensive error. Every mistake. This guy never concedes a goal from 40 yards out. Have you ever noticed that? It's always some dumbass near post one-on-one shot that should have never built up.
It's something silly, yeah. It is something.
It's always something silly. And people say it's something silly to roast De Gea, but actually we should be saying it's something silly to say, how did that striker get there in the first place? But, what do I know?
When he did almost concede, the defense was stretching off.
Yeah, but, what do I know? I'm just an uneducated person living with their mother who plays video games for a living. So I don't know anything about football, apparently. Or Aaron Wan-Bissaka out of 10.
Oh, I thought Wan-Bissaka, defensively, he wasn't as great, but I think he didn't really need that so much this game. Going forward was where I was looking at, and I thought he was very good going forward. I think he's showing that he wants to improve that aspect of his game. And I thought today he did well. He put in one good cross, I remember, which he could have had an assist. And I thought both fullbacks were good at the end of the day. But yeah, Wan-Bissaka, clean sheet. He created chances, He looked dangerous going forward. It was just the extra man on the overlapping. So yeah, I'm gonna give Wan-Bissaka an 8.
Yeah. Like, as I've said, confidence. I feel like this team was just running on confidence today. There was a point around the first half, it seemed like no one could do any wrong. Every touch seemed perfect. And I think Wan-Bissaka was one of our better players today. I think defensively, he didn't have to make an extravagant tackle, but he was there when he needed to be. Going forward, he's improving. He was really good today. He was beating players left, right, and center. The crosses were pinpoint. So
he made me smile today because he made me smile today because there was a point where in the right back position I could see the reflection of the lights glistening off a bald head that shined more than probably my best marble when I was a kid. If you don't know what I'm on about, I'm talking about Ashley Young because he was bald and he played in the right back position for us for a while. He made me smile today because I thought of Ashley Young and I thought, man, this team has been through a lot, and to have someone that I can actually trust in defense is refreshing. It is refreshing. I know Aaron Wan-Bissaka's been here for a while, but I think he goes underappreciated because it's insane what he does game in, game out. He does it game in, game out. Like this guy, I'm actually scared. I'm scared because I know he has to fuck up at some point, and I'm like, when is it going to happen? I'm scared. Like he's actually scaring me. When is this guy going to mess up? Because eventually he has to mess up, and I'm scared. Because the Wan-Bissaka I know is perfect. I could go on and on, but anyways, Lindelof out of 10.
I thought Lindelof was good also. I thought his passing was good, defending. Again, when he needed to do something, he did it right. But yeah, I think Lindelof was more of the quiet the most quiet in the back four. So yeah, 7 out of 10. 7.
Yeah, he's not an extravagant defender. He won't be making some other tackle or some other block.
This guy's just a hard work. No disrespect. He's a good defender. And I rate Lindelof. That sounded wrong. I rate Lindelof. I do. anyone on this podcast and anyone who listens to the show should know that I like Lindelof, and I don't think we'll lose out of top 4 because we play Lindelof. That's not what I meant by that comment. What I meant was he's very simple, and he doesn't. There's not much to his game. He's just really good at positioning, and unlike Bailey, he doesn't need to be insanely good at slide tackling because he positions himself so well that he doesn't have to make silly errors, and that's what makes him such a good defender. Jeez,
that's exactly that. His positioning was good. I feel like every time Lindelof has a good game, his positioning was good.
Because that's what it is. Yeah. That's what separates him from guys like Bailey, is that he may not be the best in the air, he may not be the most physical, but he's smart. He's an intelligent player. His IQ makes up for the lack of skills in other areas.
And he didn't make any stupid mistakes as he does if he's off form. So 7.
Yeah, because Lindelof has resting nervous face. Like, he always looks nervous and scared, and the hair doesn't help. He needs like a new hairstyle or something, because that wet hair doesn't help. But anyways, what has hair got to do with it? Harry Maguire, out of 10.
I think, again, like Lindelof, he played out the back well, was commanding, didn't do anything wrong defensively. Going forward, he did what Maguire does, his passing is very good, to switch the play from defense to midfield or attack, he does well. Could have had a goal today also from that corner, but 7 out of 10 as well.
Yeah, this man is feeling himself. This man is on top of the world in the past few weeks. He reminds me of Maguire we saw at Leicester, and at the first few games before the United problems got to him, the first few games when he got to United, he's brilliant. He's a striker, 1 minute he's a midfielder, defender. Yeah. He made some crucial blocks today, and he was just on top of his game. 8.
8. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Maguire, the 80 million pound fridge, Sometimes the fridge has wheels, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, And today they worked.
The only issue with this man is his pace, but besides that, he's got a lot.
I've been thinking about the whole pace thing, and I actually want to put the pace thing to bed, not because I think him and Lindelof will work long term. I don't, but I think at the moment it's fine. It works. I think at the moment, and I said this a long time ago when we brought this up on the show, is that we won't lose a game because we started Lindelof. We'll lose a game because we played poorly as a team and we didn't create enough chances at the other end. If we concede the odd goal here or there and De Gea makes the odd mistake, we should never be losing and dropping 3 points because De Gea made one mistake because Lindelof was too slow to backtrack or Maguire was too slow. Like, what happened against Spurs shouldn't happen on a consistent basis to where we're like, this guy costs too much with no pace, I don't think that should be happening, and maybe that's just my opinion. Again, you're more than welcome to tell me how wrong I am in the comments down below. That's what this is all about. But yeah, that's just my personal 2 cents on Maguire, because I went in on him hard last week because I was mad. Yeah.
I guess the only argument is that a person with pace next to him will improve him and make him a really good defender.
Obviously.
He's a really good defender, but make it a world-class pairing, if you like. So
yeah, obviously. That's why I said long term, it's a no-brainer. He does need someone with pace next to him, but short term, we're not going to lose out to top 4 because we started Lindelof. And if we do lose out to top 4 because we started Lindelof, we have to ask ourselves some serious questions about why our chances of making top 4 are reduced to one selection on the team. I think football is not that black and white. You have weak areas in every team, and in every team there's players who pull more weight than others. That's just the way it is. And I think at the moment, Bruno and Pogba are pulling a lot of the weight in this team, and it's okay. It's fine. We'll do just fine in terms of top 4. Obviously, next season, we can't be having that sort of attitude. We need to build for the future and strengthen. And Lindelof and Maguire, unfortunately, one of them is going to have to get dropped. And I don't see Mr. Captain England. I nearly called him Captain America, getting dropped.
I was hearing the commentators even saying how he's taking the captain role like so seriously. The social gatherings, the chemistry work groups and everything. He organizes it, and if you don't come, you get fined.
People look at Bruno, people look at Pogba, and they see something of what they saw in a guy like Roy Keane. Obviously, they're not as crazy as Roy Keane, but they see the passion and they see the fist going up in the air and they see the pointing and they're like, leader. But people, I'm telling you, people take it for granted how much being an exemplary figure in the dressing room can go, how much of a long way they can go. Because if the person who's wearing the captain's armband at Manchester United doesn't go to social gatherings or doesn't prioritize social gatherings as much as he's training If the person who wears the armband for Manchester United doesn't leave his Range Rover parked on the side of the road after breaking the lockdown rules, if the person wearing the armband at Manchester United isn't in the news every other week about which team they're going to at the end of the summer when their contract runs down, it has a massive impact on the young players in the dressing room, because they're like, who do I want to be like? If I want to captain Manchester United, I got to be like Maguire. I got to do what he does. I got to get to work, to training early, which is work, essentially. I got to limit the amount of time I'm spending messing around in hotel rooms with my mate. I got to take this seriously. I got to live, breathe, and eat Manchester United. And I know that sounds, maybe I am a passion merchant. You tell me in the comments down below. But I know that sounds like something a passion merchant would say, but it's true. Like, why wouldn't you want to have an exemplary figure? And I know people don't want to hear that, but I think it only benefits United. Plus, what bad does it do Bruno and Pogba to not have an armband? Because they're going to lead either way, They don't need an armband. They're going to lead either way. It's not like the armband's preventing Pogba and Bruno from showing the leadership colors, So it works. We have all kinds of characters in this dressing room now, and hopefully some of them stick around long enough for us to win trophies. But that's just my 2 cents. Again, I know some people disagree. Luke Shaw out of 10.
Luke Shaw, wow. What a performance. Honestly, what a performance, Luke Shaw. He's played 2
some
hours.
Some people still said this guy's crap.
Yeah, you're not. But today, oh my God, you should have had 4 assists. Luke Shaw should have had 4 assists today. Definitely. And defensively, amazing. And, this guy is so good. I don't understand why people are still hating on him. People have agenda, like you said, people have their agendas.
We've lost Malota, by the way. Sorry. Just saying.
Oh.
He'll probably come back.
Yeah. But people have their agendas. But Luke Shaw, he was one of my contenders for man of the match today. I'm gonna give Luke Shaw a 9 out of 10.
I mean, he was brilliant, man. And I'm sure if Malota was still in the call and he wasn't having technical difficulties, he would say something along the lines of he could have actually had an assist earlier in the game because of a cross that ultimately Tony Martial should have taken. But, I actually should have let it go through to Bruno, so Bruno could have taken it. But anyways, I think Luke Shaw, his work offensively and his work defensively makes him the complete left back that Manchester United need. And at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do as a left back, I've tried to explain this in the past using the analogy of an F1 car, right? Like, every part is essential to the performance of an F1 car, but some parts are more important than others. Like, some parts can only do so much. Like, your tires can only do so much. At the end of the day, you need a beefy engine to pull the car properly. And it's amazing to see what Luke Shaw and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, how they've been able to transform this team, because we all talk about Bruno since he got here. Bruno's the end, like, he's the finishing touch. He's the puzzle piece that we needed all along. But ultimately, when you look at how well Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw have done, it's scary to think about how a position that shouldn't matter that much actually does at Manchester United. And if those two weren't there, how would we be defensively, Yeah. They do so much work for Maguire and Lindelof as well. Like, when Lindelof is having a bad game, he's got Wan-Bissaka right next to him. Like, he's right there, And same for Luke Shaw. When Harry Maguire... there was a point in the game where Luke Shaw drifted into the centre-back position, and ironically, Bruno actually came back to the left-back position and did some work. And I'm like... You see, but even then, Luke Shaw had the intelligence to rotate, because Maguire wasn't there, he filled the gap. And then because Luke Shaw wasn't there, Bruno filled the gap. And it's like that whole intelligence thing, bro. So I really think Luke Shaw is good at that. Milos, what were your thoughts on Luke Shaw? On him, by the way.
Yeah, no. He had a brilliant game. I feel like his offensive play is underrated because maybe it's not as obvious as Wan-Bissaka. He'll whip in the cross, he'll take on defenders. But then he plays a very important part in terms of the building of the game, the movement of the ball, interplay, assisting. He's a really good player going forward. And defensively, he's always spot on. So I think, I was talking to Shaney in the preview, I think this guy should be starting in England. I don't know. People have been saying Chilwell, but I personally think Luke Shaw's better. So he had a really good game. I'll say 7 out of 10.
I don't even watch Chilwell, to be honest. So I would sound like the kind of football fan I hate if I said Luke Shaw should start over him just because I don't know him. So I'm not going to say that. But I have no doubt that Luke Shaw is probably better than Chilwell because, the fact that I haven't really heard of him or watched him that much says it all. I've been watching Luke Shaw for a long time. And my biggest problem with Luke Shaw is not whether or not he's a good player. I know he's a good player. It's whether or not he can stay fit. That's my biggest problem with Luke Shaw. So that just, and I consider myself to be a pretty objective person. So, not everything that comes out of my mouth is gold, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. I genuinely think Luke Shaw's a good player, like agendas aside. But, it's all about opinion at the end of the day. So there is some guy out there thinking I'm wrong who hates Luke Shaw's guts. Matic out of 10.
Oof, Matic, defensively brilliant, and then that ball through for that third goal. Oh my God, that chest control and that volley straight through. I love it. And I was just telling one of my friends that if I was in FIFA, that's how I score. That goal was literally the way I play. So yeah, that goal was great. I thought
FIFA unrealistic, huh?
I'm joking. Sorry. I thought Matic did give the ball away a lot more today, but again, in the bigger scheme of things, it didn't matter. So, I'm going to give Matic 7.
Matic is very dodgy sometimes, and I'm not going in on him. He had a great game, but he's very dodgy sometimes. And I don't know if it's because he's just old or if this is how Matic has been even when he was in his prime. But sometimes he's very dodgy. Like if you actually watch this guy and you purposefully focus as much as your attention as you can on the game, on and off the ball, you'll notice some very dodgy things about this guy. But in the end, it doesn't really matter because nobody's perfect, So,
and he just allows the rest of the team to be so creative and
free.
Forward.
Yeah, definitely. But there's some dodgy things about this guy. And I don't know. But maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe I have an agenda.
Yeah. I think he's been having good games, and he had another brilliant game today. I saw what Marks was talking about. I saw him fill in the love when he'd wandered off. So filling in back into the centre back. Really well, defensively, as the 6, you can't fault him. Spot on. He was spot on today. And what I saw in him with Bruno and Fernandes, he has an attacking side to him. Right?
Bruno and Fernandes. Two separate players. Sorry. That was out of line. I apologize.
You know what I laugh also. I was like, I'm letting go.
I'm sorry.
Dude, I'm probably rushing to give Bruno rating that much.
Not all, you're good. We know what you meant.
With Pogba and Fernandes, he has this. I feel like he has an outlet and he expresses himself. I think you saw the difference when Pogba and Fernandes came off. That it looked like he was taking 2 seconds to think, taking longer to think about his pass, not knowing what to do, passing it back, and which is what we've seen a lot before these past few weeks. So I think as much as he makes the other 2 players better, because they can attack more, I think they improve him as well. So I'm going to give him a 7.
I think it's a sign of a very intelligent footballer. I do. And I know that sounds idiotic because ultimately if someone's stuttering on the ball, it's a sign that they don't know what to do. But I think with Matic, it's just a sign that he thinks so much about what he does in the midfield. And he doesn't just boot the ball up the field, But there's just he has dodgy tendencies. And again, it's okay because it's not like it led to a goal, At the end of the day, it's okay. He still had a good game. You can't be perfect even when you have good games sometimes. But I don't know, man. This guy scares me sometimes. And I guess that's part of the package with Matic. But anyways, moving on. Pogba out of 10.
Oh, Paul Pogba. He's a happy man. Pogba smiling
looks like a happy man.
He makes me smile. It's just like, ever since Bruno came to the team, the link up between Bruno and Pogba is just like, Pogba's like, wow. And, I'm even watching games now and I'm like, okay, Pogba, I don't have to rely on Pogba doing everything now. Pogba, I think he knows I can relax a bit more. I can play more of my game because, the players around me are doing their bit and he can just be more free. And, again, Paul Pogba's vision, his passing, his physicality, he's one of a lifetime. And, Pogba again, Pogba's standard wasn't his best game, but he got an assist. And 7 out of 10 for Paul Pogba. I love watching him every week.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think Shun is right in saying that without the responsibility, he just looks like a better player. He's like the team assassin. He's so threatening and he's all over the place, but he's not necessarily in the spotlight. And he doesn't really finish off the move, but then he's very much involved in starting the move, and he's improved that so much. So I'm going to give him an 8.
Yeah, and all these people who say Pogba shouldn't play deep, but the plan is simple, bro. Pogba and Bruno Fernandes are very simple players, but what Bruno Fernandes doesn't have, Pogba has. What Pogba doesn't have, Bruno has. It's very simple. It's not rocket science. Bruno
and they
can
love
finish,
playing with each other.
Bruno can score. Pogba can score as well, but not as well as Bruno. And the stats are there to prove it. Bruno Fernandes, short, intricate little plays, 1-2, quick with no mistakes. That's Bruno. Pogba, long-range passes, vision, seeing the pass before anyone else on the field. That's what Pogba has. Bruno has a bit of that as well, but it's not as good as Pogba. And that's the difference between these two. If these two could just... Like, listen, if any of you are Dragon Ball Z fans, remember the fusion thing between Goten and who is that other kid, Trunks? If these two could do the same thing, oh my word, you would have a player who could play anywhere on the field. Anywhere.
And honestly,
I mean, we saw Bruno left back today. Yeah. So,
I mean, honestly, you know, I'm not going to go on a rant on it, but like for these two guys get into any midfield for me, any midfield.
The only question, I mean, it's debatable. It's debatable because I mean, at the end of the day, it will come down to opinion. Because it's hard to say Bruno Fernandes is 1,000,000% better than every cam in the world. You know, I think there's some competition, but you know, that's a topic for another video. Pogba, though, definitely. I don't think there's a box-to-box in the world at the moment who does what Pogba does and can be compared and you can say he gets into the team. Like, you know, if you want to compare him like for like, I think that's what makes Pogba so unique because he does what he does so well. I mean, you spoke about the pass that Matic, and I want to keep this very brief, but you spoke about the pass that Matic did to Bruno. How many times have Pogba made that exact same pass, and how many times does Matic make that exact same pass?
Yeah, Pogba can do it.
It's astronomical. Yeah, Pogba can do it week in, week out. Yeah, Matic does it once off, but Pogba does it week in, week out. So there already, you have a comparison of two players who have remotely similar attributes, but Pogba's much better. And obviously, Matic is a specialist CDM anyways, so he doesn't need to be the next Paul Pogba. But yeah, what did you think of Pogba's performance? I know one of you gave him a 7.
Yeah, I gave him 7. I think we'll have to give him 8.
I'm gonna give my rating. It's 8. I think I did, but
sorry. No, that's
another thing I want to point out. Since he's come back, he keeps drifting off to the right, and he's so threatening from that side.
That's the thing, bro. Like people, and this is what I was trying to say. People look at our formation, and I'll try to keep this as brief as possible because these are all the player ratings. But I really want to bring this up. People talk about this formation, and I saw it because I was watching the watch along on the United stand, and I heard a comment from someone saying, "This formation is still too defensive. It's still too this. It's still too that." I'm like, people take this formation stuff too literally. Like people play too much FIFA. Football doesn't work like FIFA. You don't play a 4-2-3-1 and become too defensive. A 4-2-3-1 is too defensive if the two CDMs are stuck as CDMs. If the two CDMs have their own creative abilities and have a gauge between, okay, now is a good time to go forward. Okay, now is a good time to go on this run because I've just given the ball to Bruno and he's stuck and he's waiting for someone to make the run. Let me make the run and then pass it to Martial or Rashford or whoever. Like football doesn't just work like, ooh, it's a 4-2-3-1. Ollie's playing me in the DM. I'm going to be at DM from the first minute till the 90th minute. It doesn't work like that. Formations switch and change throughout the course of a game. Your formation when you're in a build-up, your formation when you're defending, and then your formation when you're in the final third. 3 very different things, and that alters throughout the game as the game. Like, I'm not a coach, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out, because if you watch Manchester United off the ball, you watch Manchester United on the ball, and then you watch Manchester United in transition, you'll see that our formations are very different. And if we are playing a 4-2-3-1, the same one that's in FIFA that's apparently too defensive, then why is Pogba being given license to run up and down the field as he pleases? Because that's not a 4-2-3-1. That's not the 4-2-3-1 that's in FIFA. Hell no, it isn't. So people need to stop this nonsense of getting into debates about what formation is. Who cares what formation it is? You can call it a 4-2-3 defensive. You can call it a 4-2-3-1 if you want to get technical. You can even call it a 4-2-1 because there's 2 DMs, a cam, and then a 3. You can even go that technical if you want to, but nobody wants to talk to you because, you know, what's the point? Like, you're right. This is the formation we're playing. And then? What now? You know? I'm sick of that debate. But anyways, Bruno Fernandes out of 10.
Oof, you know, Malot is excited, so let Malot go first.
Yeah, no, I was tempted to be man of the match, but I won't because I felt like he did have a few off moments, like in terms of his crossing and yes, free kicks. Yeah, you scored a free kick here and there, but then he was taking a lot of corners and they weren't up to standard. But besides that, he scored 2 goals. He was very influential in terms of creativity. Yeah, Bruno Fernandes. I'm gonna give him an 8 as well.
That's how Bruno is, though, to be honest. And I know Shawnee can't wait to give his thoughts on Bruno, but I just want to fit this in. That's Bruno Fernandes in a nutshell, to be honest. I don't think Bruno Fernandes is this perfect player who has fart that doesn't smell that everyone thinks he is. I think he's a risk taker who makes a lot of mistakes, but it pays off because if you apply, I mean, you can apply the same theory to any other sport, even in basketball. I mean, who was it? Michael Jordan had some quote about how the more you shoot, the more you score. Like if you don't, he's missed like 1,000 hoops in his lifetime as an NBA player. He's missed 1,000 times, but he's scored far more because he keeps shooting. And that's the kind of player Bruno Fernandes is. He'll keep crossing. Eventually, one of them is bound to go onto the striker's head. He'll keep shooting because eventually one of them is bound to go in, like the goal against Everton. Somebody's bound to make a mistake, and that's what I love about Bruno. He's not afraid to go for it, And it's a bad thing sometimes. Like if you're 1-0 down, you don't want someone shooting from 40 yards out, but it works. And I would say there's a similar attribute to Rashford, except with Rashford, it's a bit questionable. But yeah, you can go.
I didn't give man of the match, sorry, Shini, but I wouldn't argue against Shini if you gave him. I think I can see why
it's just one of those things.
The third goal was, yes, it was close it was close in, but then the technique was really good.
So yeah, Bruno did what Bruno does. Everyone calls him overrated. Everyone can call him whatever they want. I know all the rival fans and who are friends of mine would take Bruno any day. And 2 goals today after he played the whole game in the cup. It's ridiculous. And I'm happy that he got the break at the end. And that Bruno smile. It makes my day. But yeah, he's not my man of the match, but I am going to give him 9 out of 10.
Bruno Fernandes. I want to hear who you guys' man of the match is because I thought this guy was man of the match. But anyways, who am I?
Right, for me, it's tight between Pogba and Bruno.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for spoiling it.
I'm worried about Shini's man of the match.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh no!
Oh, he knows.
No! Oh no!
My god!
Oh no! Okay, guys, that's it. It's been a good ride, guys. I think I quit. You guys are gonna have me roast. Oh no, but
I've been keeping it quiet.
Okay, cool. Anyways, this next guy has had a very iffy start to the season, so I wouldn't be surprised to hear a 5 or 6 here. But anyways, Rashford out of 10.
Oh, ish. He's suffering. My boy is suffering.
He's rusty.
Yeah,
He's suffering from that rust.
It's proper. You need to go. This guy, you need to go. Guys,
his competition doesn't make it easier to be fair to Rashford.
And with the quality around Rashford also, again, it just takes off so much load from Rashford. I even forgot, we have Rashford and Martial playing too. I even forgot.
There was a period in the game where I was like, who's our number 10? Shouldn't Bruno be the number 10? And then I saw Rashford's name in the top left and I was like, you.
Yeah. But yeah, I think he's suffering. I think he'll come back though. We've seen it at the beginning of the season. I always talk about Rashford, needing to improve or whatever, do simple things. And I think he'll get there again.
Hot and cold player.
Yeah, he'll get there again once he gets a goal and his confidence is up. But yeah, I'm going to give him a 5.
He's a very hot and cold player, and when he's cold, he's not very nice. It's that simple with Rashford.
Yeah.
He's a flair player. He doesn't. I think the problem with Rashford as well is he's got so much quality around him at the moment that he doesn't need to do anything special. Because I guarantee you, if Bruno and Pogba weren't here, we'd be watching this guy trying to take a shot from 40 yards out, and eventually one of them would go in, and we'd be like, "Oh, he's back," and it's like, no, but he played crap for 85 minutes and just scored one cracker, and it would have been 1-0 up against Brighton.
Yeah, I think he had an okay game. He's not shooting as much. The interplay still needs work. I guess it's just rust, But I felt like he was threatening. He was taking on the defenders more than he was in the previous games since we've come back. So, yeah, it was okay. And, he was drifting to the right so much. I don't know what was going on there. I have no idea what was going on. I know he drifts to the right sometimes because that's just what happens during the game. But then he was staying there and, Green was playing on the left today. He did play more on the right, but then there was last periods where he was on the left. So I don't know what was going on there. It wasn't really working for him. But I'm going to give him a...
You know what I think? I think... No, but to be honest, you want to know what I think? And this is going to sound silly, and even my tone has changed, and I know people aren't going to take it seriously, but genuinely what I honestly think is I think Manchester United are having a good time at the moment, and Rashford playing bad doesn't really matter that much in the grander scheme of things. And I think I don't want to use the word complacent because that's very negative, but I think he just didn't care enough, you know? Like he wasn't thinking about how can I improve my game? He was like, "Ooh, look at Bruno and Pogba. I'm just going to try stand here and wait for the ball," you know? He was, I don't know, like, you know, when you play school soccer with your mates and at a certain point throughout the game, if you're like 3-0 up and, you know, you're playing shirts on versus shirts off, and you know that your team's dominating.
Week, you know, absent for a week. So
you're absent for a week, but ignore the rust part, right? Your team is 3-0 up. You don't need to give a fuck about positioning. Like, it doesn't matter if you're in your position or not. You're 3-0 up. It doesn't matter. So you're just going to mess around and, you know, do whatever you want to do. And I think that's what was happening with Rashford today. We were 3-0 up. He didn't need to think about anything. He was just letting it go. He let his foot off the pedal a little bit. That's what I think happened. Maybe I'm wrong.
A bit frustrated, which is understandable.
Yeah, because he's a professional footballer. Obviously, he's not playing PE with his mates. PE soccer, I should say. So obviously, he's aware that his performances are bad. But yeah,
and it's unfortunate because you could have seen him get 20 goals this season. So yeah, just one of those things.
Yeah, I think subconsciously he was just letting go. Consciously, he'll be very frustrated and he'll want to improve and all that stuff. But ultimately, when Bruno Fernandes got the ball in the middle of the park and Pogba's doing his thing in the middle of the park, what are you going to do if you're Rashford, you know? I mean, you should ideally position yourself on the left wing and try be an attacking threat. But then again, you're playing badly and you want to be in the mix. So you drift into the middle and you try to get the ball, but nobody passes to you because your team's playing so well that by the time you get into a position to get the ball, they shoot, you know, and they create something. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but that's genuinely what I think was happening because Rashford didn't have this issue before Bruno and Pogba were playing together. He didn't, you know. He was always on the ball pretty much every time we're in the final third, trying to make things happen. And if it wasn't him, it was on the other side with that other kid we don't want to talk about anymore, the Welsh kid. But, you know, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe Rashford's just crap. I think it's a combination of both. I don't think he's just crap. You know? I think the competition is making it extremely hard for him to play himself out of bad form. Because the Rashford we know would be just drifting in and trying to take shots and trying to play himself out of bad form. But
it's almost like you do what Bruno does, but on the left.
Yes, but he can't do that if Bruno has the ball and Bruno's like, well, fuck you, Bruno's open, dude. So, you know, how did boy? You're 3-0 up. What did you want from me? I was supposed to pass to you and then the goal worked out, you know? But I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking things. Martial out of 10.
Again, like, I don't, you know, Martial, I don't even know if he had a chance to shoot. I can't even remember a Martial shot, but, you know, he came off after his hat-trick. I don't think Martial will mind because he did say, you know, there isn't really competition. He just wants what's best for the team. And I think today things were just going well in other departments. I don't think they really needed to play through Martial. I think Martial was just more there for the threatening reasons. And I thought Martial was just average through 6.
Fam, if Martial was a vessel in the ocean smuggling drugs and we were the freaking Coast Guards, he would have gotten away, fam. Because that's how anonymous he was today. Like, he would have gotten away, fam. Like, we would have had a massive drug crisis on our hands.
Yeah,
that's no disrespect to Martial.
Martial is no Kane or Suarez or Lewandowski who just live and breathe goals and just chill in that area. And when a team is playing like United was playing today, they're going to score. He's not that type of player. So it will happen that he doesn't score. But then he will still take part in the interplay and the hold-up. He wasn't that active in that department either today, but he wasn't horrible. So he had an okay game. I'll give him a 6.
But dude, it's like when Pogba and Bruno are doing their thing, fam. You know, they're right there, fam. Martial's basically the front wing of the car, fam, you know. You need a front wing, but if it breaks off, you can't go to the pits now. You know, the race is too close. So we'll just keep going.
What was Ola saying about potentially getting another striker? I heard something like that.
I don't know. I haven't been watching all of
I think
press conferences because
I heard that he said that, you know, United are good, but it's not where they want to be, and they need to keep on getting more players if they want to improve and be the best.
So what? You just make examples of strikers?
I don't know, but I do know that he definitely thinks we need more players.
And I don't know if those are specifically strikers, because the last time he was asked about Martial, he did his typical early response.
Yeah. And Ed Woodward was at this game today. I don't know if you guys seen, but he was at the
I
game
didn't.
today. He was at the game.
Looking much brighter, Ed Woodward, right now.
That guy is the devil, fam. But anyways, we're not here to talk about Ed Woodward. Greenwood out of 10.
Mason Greenwood! Mason Greenwood! Right, let me have my moment. All right. The first goal to set up the whole game. My boy, he's been in the gym in quarantine. He's been looking. He ditched the galdem. She told that just leave me alone to my football. Let me focus. You do your thing. I don't need a girlfriend. I'm gonna focus on my football. He went to the gym. He's now improved. He's built up his muscle mass. And now he's looking at Ronaldo. He watched Ronaldo movies during quarantine, and now he's coming. Now he comes with a little step of 1, 2, 3, and he puts it in the near post. And I had a vision. Listen, I told him. I had a dream. I was like, listen, Green. I went to Carrington. I was like, listen, bro. That's what you need to do. You see the step over thing here. I do that into. I showed him 1, 2, and then he just hits it near post. I'm like, well done, my son. Greenwood is my son. We pray. We pray that we got Greenwood. What a wonderful play. And I just told him, you just do the 1, 2, few step overs like Ronaldo. You just hit it.
Listen,
either foot. It goes
that's
in,
great, Mo. But can you give me a lift to Carrington next time? Because I would love to go to the UK. It's always been a dream of mine.
Yeah, no problem. I'll take you there.
Oh, thanks.
But you're just telepathic in my dream. And then you see the assist on the left side now. Matt's just he played the wonderful ball. But then you see the Greenwood with the pace again, the physicality, the little shimmies and the turns. Oh my God! And then it was 3. I'm like, he's gonna score. Yeah. Even if he doesn't score, he's gonna put it in the cross because I don't care what he does. It's just amazing. And then wow, what a beautiful cross on a plate for Bruno. Oh. My man got a goal and assist. Man of the match, 10 out of 10. I love this.
By the way, if there's anyone who knows how to animate who happens to be listening to the podcast, please DM one of us, because that right there, the last how many minutes this guy's been rambling on about Carrington and his dreams, it's a great script for a cartoon. I'm just saying, so
I love it.
For us to work together. That would be a sick cartoon, imagine Shawnee goes to bed and then the dream starts and then see him arriving in Carrington and he's dressed. And so the Shawnee who goes to bed is the Shawnee we know, but the Shawnee in the dream is dressed in British clothing and it's like an alter ego. And
if anyone knows me, I love the UK. I love it.
He does love the UK, but I wish we could sit here and talk about how much we love the UK, but we have to hear your thoughts on Greenwood now.
That was my last Greenwood. Look, I'm not going to say man of the match, but he had a really, really good game. The first goal was impressive. Out of nothing. Brilliant step overs, brilliant finish, near post, the keeper was whack, but he was... We talked about this when you went here, Marcus. I can see a right wing in this guy. I know you're not completely sure, but I can really see... I can see the attributes of a right wing in this guy. He's got the pace, he's got the skill, he can take on players. So if Ole is trying to develop into a right wing, I'm good going on that train. And the cross for such a young
player... coming to sit on the bench. I'm joking. Relax. Yes.
Please relax, dude.
Well, actually, no, I'll wait for you to finish and give you
the cross. Pinpoint. Just impressive. So I'm going to give him, an 8.
+2.
Look, first of all, I'd like to say that my job on the show is usually the villain. So I usually do go in on these types of things because I enjoy playing the devil's advocate and I think it's good for the show. But anyways, my problem with Greenwood is not that I don't think he doesn't have the potential to be a right winger. No. I think he could make a fantastic right winger. I think Greenwood is a versatile player. He actually reminds me a lot of Rashford and Martial when they were younger and we weren't sure what positions they played in. My problem with Mason Greenwood is that he's young and he's inconsistent. And I know he's inconsistent because I've watched him start and he's been crap for 45 to an hour until he inevitably got taken off in some of the games. I remember the Everton game in particular. So if Greenwood is going to be a right winger, I'll say my famous line. Let him be a right winger. See out the project. Don't let him be a right winger when Dan James is unavailable or out of form. Don't then move him to striker when Martial's injured in the season and then bring Dan James back into the mix. That's what I don't want with Mason Greenwood. That's what I don't want with Rashford. That's what I don't want with Martial. I don't want this quick fix nonsense where, Martial's injured. Let's try playing Rashford down the middle and see how that works. Even though we gave him the number 10 jersey and he was supposed to be a cam. But anyways, Like, can we stop dilly-dallying and moving people's positions? Can they pick a position and stick to it? And to me, what I like about Mason Greenwood is his conversion rate and his ratio, his ability to take a chance, even if it's a small chance, even if it's 5 minutes in the game, and trouble the goalkeeper. That's why I like Mason Greenwood, and that's why I think Mason Greenwood has the potential to be a fantastic player. It's great that he can dribble. It's great that he's quick. A striker should be quick and should be able to dribble anyways, because that helps them do their job even more efficiently. I think those are the qualities that I see in Mason Greenwood, and that's what I would like in a striker at Manchester United, to be honest. But I got no problems with him developing into a right wing as long as that's the project, you know. I'm not a huge fan, and I know we're in the age of versatile players, the Werners of this world, the Martials of this world, the Greenwoods of this world, funny enough. But the Sanchos of this world even, because he can play pretty much everywhere in the front three. He's got the abilities. But I just think for a young player, it's important that they gain the necessary work experience at the highest level, one position at a time, and not all over the place. Because if it's all over the place, I think it will impact his development. I think it will lead to a very confused player and a very on and off player, and we don't need another hot and cold player at Old Trafford. We need someone who holds down a position, and that's their position. You know, we need a right winger who commands that position. And that's where I start to have problems with Greenwood, because every time he plays down that right wing, Wan-Bissaka seems to be working overtime, except for today. So I ain't got no problems with him playing right winger. He's just got to stick there. And I don't know if him sticking there is such a good idea if we're going to go ahead and buy Sancho anyways.
I was telling Moloto when you went here on the preview, I was thinking that, you know, even with Oli coming out and saying that, you know, he's still looking for a striker, I was thinking you bring in Sancho, then you have Rashford, Martial, Sancho. That's your starting front three. And then I think Oli, I don't know, for some reason I feel
James
like,
off the bench, bro.
So Greenwood would be like Sancho's replacement. James would be Rashford's replacement, because James loves that left side anyways. And then Igalo for now, till we get another backup striker, will be Martial's.
It works. It works. It
so
does
I think,
work.
And I think Oli does see Greenwood as striker. I think he could do any position, but for some reason I think it's coming more and more to me that Oli wants him to be a right winger.
Because you've got to develop in one position. You know, if you work in as an intern, right? You've gone to UJ, you've gone to Wits or Tux, whatever university you prefer. You get your degree. What do? You go become an intern. When you get to said company, does the company say, hey, you're an intern with no work experience, but we want you to work in 3 separate departments because you're that good? No, they pick a department for you, and over time you work your way and you get promoted. Well, you first have to get the job because you're still an intern, and then get paid, and then prove your work experience, but etc., etc. But that's the same basic principle. There's no evidence to me that suggests that Greenwood can be a phenomenal and consistent player in all 3 positions. So why would we ruin and risk his development as a player and insisting that he should be a backup for one of the best right wingers / best number 9s / best left wingers, young left wingers, striker and right winger in Europe? Why should we put that pressure on Greenwood? Hey, Greenwood, if Rashford gets injured, you're going to play on the left. If Sancho gets injured, you're going to play on the right. And if Martial gets injured, which we know is going to happen, by the way, you're going to play in the middle. Are you ready to do all 3 for Manchester United? Why would you put that kind of pressure on a player? I don't understand. Maybe I don't know anything about football, but I just don't get it. And I know you guys, some people disagree, and that's okay.
How would you guys feel if Ola came out and said, I'm backing my boy, I'm going to start him, and I'm going to buy Traore to back him up?
I don't know. Traore? Wait, Traore from Wolves?
From Wolves, yeah.
Nah, so the thing is, right, if we didn't get Sancho under any circumstance, I'd be very upset, because I think you can't get an alternative besides Sancho, you know. The situation with Manchester United and getting Sancho, right, it's like this. It's like your mother promises you a PS4 for Christmas, but for whatever reason, due to financial struggles and COVID, she gets you a PS3. You're not going to be happy. PS3 is not that bad in hindsight, but you're not going to be happy. Yeah. PS3 is a great console. It's one, actually, no, it's actually the Xbox 360 was the king of that generation. But let's just say, for argument's sake, a PS3 is still relevant in 2020 and it's still a functioning console. It's still not a PS4. And that's the problem with Traore. He's not a bad player. He's a really good player, and he probably would fit in very well at Manchester United if his trajectory and his path to becoming a good player stayed intact. Same with Zaha, same with all these other Sancho alternatives, but they're not Sancho. They're not the PS4. They're not the PS5 either. And that's the problem. So
Yeah, but
if we did get Traore, I would back Ollie maybe in the next 3 to 4 months if Traore came here and hit the ground running. But when I see him holding that shirt, I'm going to be like, you guys fucked up. And there's nothing you can say to convince me otherwise.
In this scenario, I was saying Traore is more of a backup, and Ole's backing Greenwood to start as the number one right wing. And one can make an argument that one can make an argument, as you hinted at, that Jadon Sancho's young. So if he's going to be a right winger and not potentially a striker someday, when is Mason Greenwood ever going to really start Manchester United?
The thing is, with Sancho, if someone made that argument, I would say, well, firstly, Sancho has played at Dortmund and has played a consistent amount of games, and there's more than enough evidence for me to suggest that Sancho's ready to transition into a right winger at a big club. So, although Sancho and Mason Greenwood are both young, the ages in their development is very different. Sancho is a worker with 3 years of experience under his belt. Mason Greenwood just got here, to use a corporate analogy. They may be the same age on paper and their ID may reflect the same date of birth, but their work experience makes the other more valuable than the former, you know? And so with Sancho and Greenwood, that's the tough decisions Manchester United has got to make. I'm not going to sit here and say Mason Greenwood should just sit on the bench because I don't believe that, but at the same time, I wouldn't be upset if Sancho came here because it's Manchester United, Papa. Hardy. What do you want?
And what I would say is,
game time.
Even if Sancho does come and, Greenwood does, have to work with, I think Greenwood is good enough to put Sancho on the bench.
Yeah, so it works for everyone. It works for everyone. If Greenwood really is as good as people think he is, and he shouldn't be sitting on the bench for Jadon Sancho, let him prove it. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer gives him the chance, that is. Because people are fine with Grealish coming in and sitting on the bench, but when it's Mason Greenwood, all of a sudden, he can't sit on the bench, And it's like, no, that's just the way it is. Somebody's going to have to sit on the bench. And I think with Mason Greenwood, if it was the other way around, if Jadon Sancho was at Manchester United and Jadon Sancho wasn't the Jadon Sancho that we knew, and Mason Greenwood was the youngster, it was going to be a lot harder to convince Mason Greenwood to come here. But he's already an academy player. He's already sitting on our bench. And I'm not saying Mason Greenwood isn't an ambitious footballer, but if Jadon Sancho walks to that door and is holding a shirt, Mason Greenwood's going to have no problems with sitting on the bench for at least a season to watch this guy. No problems at all. And if he does, he's got a really big head. And I feel sorry for him. Because, if you have a problem with sitting on the bench for one season behind Jadon Sancho and seeing what he does and actually fighting for your place in the team, then you probably shouldn't be at Manchester United anyways, if you're that big-headed. Because you haven't done anything to prove that you're better than Jadon Sancho if you're Mason Greenwood. And that's just the truth. So I don't know. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, as much as I think Jadon Sancho is a better fit and he should come, to be honest, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind him backing Greenwood and saying, it's yours, boy. But bringing in a Traore to share the load with.
Yeah.
Over time, I wouldn't mind. Over time, I'd grow to accept it, especially if it worked out. If it worked out, why wouldn't I accept it? I'm not that stubborn. I'm not going to sit here 6 years from now when Greenwood's winning the Ballon d'Or saying we should have signed Sancho. Hell no. What kind of person would I be then? But in the immediate future, I'd be upset because it's like, we should have got Sancho, And it's the same argument. It's the same argument some people would have used if we didn't get Bruno. If, for whatever reason, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was like, let's back Pereira, and it worked out, people will change their minds eventually. But between the time of Pereira being a crap player and Pereira turning into the player we need him to be, people would have been there like, we should have signed Bruno. Look what he's doing at Sporting. We should have signed Bruno. And it's not the same thing, obviously, because Mason Greenwood is way better than Pereira, even in his developmental stage. But it's a similar. That's the best analogy I could come up with. It's just you can't not sign Sancho if United. You just can't not do that deal. I understand that Traore is a good player, and I've got nothing against him. And I know Mason Greenwood could lock down that position, and I've got nothing against him too. But it's Sancho. You can't mess that deal up with United now because we know you're in for him. We know you're trying to get him now. It's out there. Yeah.
You just and what I will say about Sancho is what I've always said, even when we were linked to Sancho. I don't doubt him at all. But part of me still thinks that there's something fishy with this deal.
I think there's something fishy as well because it's United. But at the end of the day, when you look at all the evidence, this is very similar to the Bruno Fernandes deal. We sat here for a month being mad at Manchester United, saying just pay the bloody money. And they were like, no, we're not going to be held to ransom by Sporting. And eventually we got Bruno Fernandes, right? Why did we get Bruno Fernandes? We got Bruno Fernandes because there wasn't really any competition besides that bid from Barca, if you actually believe that nonsense, from a very uncredible source. We don't know if Barca actually bid it or not, and whether or not that forced United's hand to pay whatever price, you know. As far as I know, United still underpaid for Bruno Fernandes, at least in my opinion. With Jadon Sancho, if we look at the competition, well, Man City ain't signing a right winger, especially not Jadon Sancho, because he's not going to sit on the bench for Mahrez or whoever's starting for them. But he left them to go establish a career for himself. So, cool, Man City's out of the question. Juve don't have the money because they've just done a dodgy swap deal with Barca, and that means Barca don't have the money either because they've just done a deal with Juve, and they're probably not going to go and spend 100 million quid on a right winger when they've got Messi still at the club. So, Barca's out of the question. Juve is probably out of the question because their priority would probably be Pogba anyways. Let's look at Madrid. Well, Madrid haven't spent a penny, so maybe they're who we should be worrying about. But we know Sancho wants to come back to England, and we know if Sancho had a choice between coming back home and going to yet another foreign country after all the hard work he's done at Dortmund to establish himself, I think he's going to choose coming back to England because he knows it's best for his career, and he wants to play in the Premier League. So I don't think he'll go to the Bernabeu based on that reason alone, but you never know. So when you look at all the potential places Sancho could go, none of them make sense like United do. And that's, I think, except Chelsea. Except Chelsea. Chelsea is the difference maker. If United don't make top four, Chelsea is the only other place where I can confidently say Jadon Sancho is going. So besides Chelsea, where else is this guy going to go? That's why I think it's imperative that United should get this deal done, and that's why I think they will. And based on what's happening at the moment, and we'll see tomorrow or whenever Chelsea and Leicester are playing, based on what's happening at the moment, why wouldn't you come to United? I mean, we're getting the results. We haven't lost in 14 games. So
well, since Bruno has put on that United shit.
When you connect all the dots and you do all the conspiracy theories, if you want to call them that anyways, there's nowhere else this guy could go. And even for Chelsea, it would be a stretch because that's £100 million on top of what you've already spent. I mean, come on, bro. There's so many better options for Chelsea out there. Like cheaper options that could work for them. You know, they haven't been in for Sancho the whole summer. We've been in for Sancho. They have Ziyech already. They have Werner pretty much done. And we don't conclusively know that Chelsea are in negotiations with Sancho. They might be interested in Sancho, but that means nothing. Who wouldn't be interested in Sancho? You know, if Barca came out tomorrow and said they were interested in Sancho, I'd be like, yeah, how? He's Jadon Sancho. Duh. But are you actually going to sign him? That's a different story entirely. And so, you know, it's like saying we're interested in Mbappe. We're all interested in Mbappe. Everyone's watching Mbappe as a teenager. But are you going to sign him or not? It's probably not. And I just don't see who else would sign Sancho. I really don't. And
then, you know, also part of me still thinks that football fans will always have their bias. Like, also, like, you know, I won't lie. If Greenwood could play the whole season, I would let him play because I love Greenwood that much also. So football fans always just have, you know, that bias. Yeah,
well, I mean, if you have a player you like and you have your reasons for liking him, I'm not going to change your mind. I mean, like, that's what it's about at the end of the day, you know. A lot of people like to go in on managers for picking certain players, but that's just the way the world works. You may not like it, but even managers have biases because they like something about a player. Even though the player may not fit into their system, they just like him, you know. There's managers who come to Old Trafford who love Fellaini, and for years we've sat there. I mean, some of us turned towards the end.
Instead of Thiago.
Yeah, I mean, some of us turned towards the end and started to like Fellaini, and it was sad when he left because, you know, we grew. He grew onto us, but I mean, those of us with football brains, and even those of us that liked Fellaini, can say that he wasn't ever good enough to play for Manchester United. No disrespect. Yeah. At some point, that guy was a first-team footballer, and we were complaining about letting him go and not replacing him. But that's messed up. How is Fellaini a first-team footballer at United for 6 or 5 years, you know? So there's always going to be preferences, and people will always have their preferences. I can't tell you not to like Mason Greenwood more than X a player because it's your opinion. That's what it's about, you know? But yeah, I think that about wraps everything up. It was a bit of actually, it doesn't wrap everything up. I did want to ask you guys a question about what you think of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because it's important to us to bring this up after every game because that's how volatile this Ole Gunnar Solskjaer thing is. Your opinion of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can literally change over the course of one game because that's how crucial the times are at the moment. Where are you with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer after beating Brighton 3-0 and considering that we haven't lost in 14 games? Still the same place?
In terms of the league after quarantine and since the Sheffield game, Ole's been perfect. Well, I'm not including the FA Cup. I'm just speaking slowly on the league priority and the team he selected.
Got away with murder in the FA Cup.
Yeah, I can't deny Ole's being perfect. This team is 100% the team I would play week in, week out if I could. So I don't blame Ole at all. The subs today were the right subs. So 10 out of 10 for me.
I would even go as far as including the Spurs game, and I know some people don't want to hear that, but when you look at the team that started in the Spurs game, there was nothing wrong with that team. In hindsight, you can say, okay, McTominay, Fred should not have started because they were bad. But how would you know that if you're Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? You don't know how people are going to play. This is the team you've selected for the last however many months, and they've gone.
And that's what they said about the FA Cup as well. You wanted to be loyal to the FA Cup team. So.
Yeah, this is a team that you've selected for months. Fred didn't deserve to get dropped. We all said it. McTominay didn't deserve to get dropped. We all said it. Pogba might not have been fit to play a full 90 minutes, and he probably didn't want to risk him. And also, a draw against Spurs is not a bad result. And trust me, it's not a bad result. Of the 9 games, we were never going to win all 9 games. So what is so bad about drawing the hardest one? I don't understand. I think people were blinded by the optimism of lockdown and expected that optimism to immediately transfer, but they forget that Spurs was actually our hardest game. And we drew it. We didn't even lose it. So that's a bonus. We should have, in hindsight, we should have actually, if we had lost the Spurs game, it wouldn't have been that bad of a situation if we just go on and win the rest. But we drew it. We're still unbeaten. So people seriously need to relax with that Spurs result because there was a lot of positives. I mean, Pogba coming off the bench and having to prove that he is still the Paul Pogba we knew a year ago. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what should happen in a team, at least in my opinion. I know some people disagree because some people just they change their opinion on hindsight. Like everything to them is on hindsight, and I think that's how the football, like a large portion of football fans are, But what if Fred had played well that game, But yeah, that's just what I think, honestly. But what are your thoughts on Ole so far, Moloto?
Yeah, no, I've been impressed it's something he should be doing, but then I've liked that he hasn't ifed around with the team selection as we've seen him in the past. We have made it clear what we think is the right thing. Yeah, and he's the coach, and he can also see it. And he's been picking the right team game in, game out. We've been playing pretty football. And yeah, he didn't rest some players in the FA Cup. And maybe one can say it should have been more comfortable, but we won. We haven't lost in a very long time. So I've been impressed with him.
Got away with murder, though. He really got away with murder there. And he's probably... This guy is probably one of the luckiest managers I've seen in a long time in football. Like some managers who are just destined for greatness. And I'm not saying Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to go on and win a title, but I'm just saying, some managers who just get the right opportunity at the right time and the right signing at the right time. And the freaking pandemic comes conveniently.
Yeah.
And when the season resumes, two of his best players are back in shape. This guy's one of the luckiest managers I've seen in a long time.
It's like, I hope his luck continues. Yeah, and I don't want to make it sound cliche, but it's like it's almost as it's written in the stars for this man to do well.
My God.
It is. Like he just couldn't. And I'm not going to jinx it now because we still might not make top 4, but it is. It feels like the wheels turn at the right time, and I'm actually cringing at myself right now for saying this because
I still want Poch. I still want Poch, but hey, my God,
I want Manchester United to do well. I couldn't give 2 craps about Poch, to be honest, at this point in time. Would I prefer Poch in an ideal world over Ole? I would prefer most managers over Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer brings me what I want from those other managers, then why do I need those other managers? So I'm not going to go down that road until Ole Gunnar Solskjaer
and he's done nothing wrong. He's done nothing wrong. He picks my team. The players did amazing. It's just, Ole is he's feeling it.
I've moved past the Burnley result because ultimately people in life sometimes get preferential treatment, and sometimes that preferential treatment is the reason why they end up succeeding. Sometimes it isn't. You just, as long as we're not talking about politics or racial things like that, and we just remember that football is ultimately a game and it's supposed to be fun and enjoyable for not only the people watching but the entertainers involved, and we detach ourselves from the corrosive arguments that come from these types of things, what is the big problem with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer getting an extended run at Manchester United just because he was a club legend if he brings us trophies? There's nothing wrong with that. Like, people need to get that out of their head. Like, when I say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the luckiest manager of all time, I'm not slating him, because it's true. Most managers would have been fired after losing to Burnley 2-0. And this guy hasn't been fired, and he's lucky, and it's a good thing. I hope he continues to get lucky. I hope his luck brings us titles. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't care how it happens, as long as we're playing good football and I see a trophy. I really don't care who's in charge anymore. Like, I've moved past the Burnley results. I still think he should have been sacked after that. But I guess 3 seasons from now, we'll see whether that was right in hindsight or not. But look, anyways, before this drags on for like 6 hours, leave a like in the video if you did enjoy that. And do consider subscribing if you are new and you haven't. It's free, so I don't know why most of you aren't. But anyways, thank you for listening to the show, and good night or good afternoon whenever you're listening to this, and enjoy the rest of your evening/day.